The NFL is an insanely difficult league for anyone to succeed in, as the game features the best of the best at what they do. Throw in players going to unfavorable situations for them to succeed in, like a different schematic match, and coaches that aren't exactly great at what they do, think Sam Darnold and the 2018 Jets, and it's no surprise some players that were once highly touted prospects become what no one wants to hear associated with their name, a draft bust. And by the way, that does not mean Sam is, but he did disappoint in New York largely due to things that were out of his control. Now, throw in these guys are fresh out of college and moving to a city that they may have never visited in their lives before, and it may in fact be not only a huge culture shock for them, but also playing in the most physically demanding league there is, and there are plenty of reasons as to why guys don't work out. And in today's video, we are going to be discussing several players that for one reason or another have not worked out at the NFL level yet, and why that may be. These are all going to be players in their second or third year, so without further ado, let's dive in. The first player we are going to discuss in today's video that is on the verge of becoming a draft bust is Vikings center Garrett Bradbury. Bradbury was the 18th overall selection back in the 2019 draft and was regarded as the best interior lineman from that draft class. However, when he was drafted, he was going to turn 24 years old before his rookie season even started, and the Vikings were coming off of a year where they went 8-7-1 and needed better offensive line play. The 24 years old part is noteworthy in the sense of he was an older draft prospect, and there wasn't time to wait for him to get good and to go through the growing pains that most young players do. With the team being in the state that it was, meaning a 100% win now mode, the Vikings needed him to come in and be an average player at minimum compared to other centers across the league, and simply put, Garrett has not been that. His listed weight is 305 pounds, and while that's not light compared to the average person, there are plenty of opposing interior D linemen that weigh well over 320, and in some cases more than 330 pounds, so not surprisingly, when giving up on average anywhere from 15 to 30 or more pounds, there's been times when Garrett has been walked right back into Kirk Cousins' lap, or right into Dalvin Cook when he is receiving the football on a handoff, and there's nothing either one of them can do about that, talking about Kirk and Dalvin that is. The Cincinnati game this year to start off the 2021 campaign was especially bad for Bradbury, as Bengals defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi was in the backfield for most of the day and had a career game. He had 6 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss including a sack, and was a big reason, though not the only to be clear, as to why Dalvin Cook rushed for just 61 yards on 3 yards per carry that day. His dominance came against Garrett Bradbury, and we are 2+ years into his career, and at this point, gun to my head, I would say he has been a draft bust, and the question now isn't whether or not he's the starting center for the next decade for Minnesota like it was in 2019, it's how many games does he have left. Now we head to Las Vegas to discuss a fellow 2019 draftee, and it is Kelanpharrell of the Raiders. Farrell had 6.5 sacks combined in the first 2 years of his career, and heading into 2021, it was a consensus that he would in a sense not be playing for his job, but for his NFL future. Whether the Raiders or not would want him around long term was another thing, but when you have a start to your career as not productive as Cleveland's was, he in a sense had to have the mindset for 2021 that he was going to put tape on for 31 other teams, and hopefully one team would like what they saw, because the Raiders went out and spent nearly $30 million on defensive end Yannick Ngakoue, and then of course had 2019 4th round pick Max Crosby have a 10-sack rookie season, and then followed that up with a 7-sack second season in 2020. And Cleveland's 2021 campaign got off to arguably a worse start than being injured to start the season, and that was being a healthy scratch. Being a healthy scratch is never good, and especially for a player that is a former top 5 overall draft pick entering just his 3rd year with the team. And it's especially not good when a player that was selected later than you in the same draft class plays your position and then they choose to go out and get a top tier free agent, because that shows that A, the Raiders do not trust him to develop into the player they thought he was going to be, and B, this signals signals that they are going to be at best, talking about Cleland here, that Cleland will be at best a rotational rusher this year, and that it shows he is going to be swimming upstream or running uphill all year long just to get opportunities on the field. And it's been that through 4 games for Farrell. In the 3 games he's played, he has played more than 25% of the defensive snaps just once, and barely cleared that at 27% of the snaps being logged in a Week 4 loss to the Chargers. The Farrell selection shocked everyone at the time because they thought he was a mid to late first round selection, and the Raiders targeted him because he was a high floor player and a great locker room guy on top of it, but neither, well, at least the playing on the field, has not translated to the NFL level. And given Cleland has just 6.5 career sacks and isn't regularly in the defense for this team, you have to think that he has, through 2.25 years now, is indeed a draft bust. Now, the next 2 players we are going to discuss are in entirely different circumstances, as while they did not have good rookie years, injuries have plagued some of their second seasons, or in one player's case here, his entire second season, and we are talking about Lions corner Jeff Okudah and Tua, the quarterback of the Dolphins. Okudah had a very rough rookie season, and while he was expected to take a big step this year, because let's call it what it is, he couldn't really take much of a step further back than a 129th out of 136th ranking in his rookie season according to PFF. All we can do is speculate what could have been this season for him. And in his lone game this year he did go against Deebo Samuel, and Deebo did get the best of him on one play specifically, but again, who knows how well or how bad Jeff Okudah would have played. And as for Tua, his second season certainly was not off to a hot start at all, as he was completing less than 55% of his passes through a game and some change, and truth be told with Tua, I've never been impressed with his NFL game, whether it was his rookie season or the glimpse that we saw in 2021 from him. But the good news for Tua is there is still some time to right the ship. However, for someone like Jeff Okudah, a player who was awful in his rookie season and did not have a great first game in his second season but was expected to take a step this year, but again never actually did, well, 2022 will be the year he fights for not only his job in Detroit, but for his entire NFL career. Now we head to Jacksonville to discuss no, I'm just kidding with you guys. We are heading there to discuss 2020 first-round pick K'Lavon Chaisson. Recently, the Jags traded 2020 first-round pick, the first of the 2 that they had, in CJ Henderson for the definition of pennies on the dollar, and while that was just a flat-out bad move for them, K'Lavon is on the verge of becoming a draft bust in his own rights. He was selected 20th overall in 2020, just 2 picks before the Vikings selected Justin Jefferson, and in 20 games so far, Chaisson has 5 starts and has 1 sack. Now, normally I am, especially this early in a player's career, on the side of give it some time, it will be alright type thing, but the Jags have a lot to worry about outside of just Chaisson, and that much is clear. The hiring of Urban Meyer has went worse and far worse than expected, as I thought it would take a year to blow things up and really get out of hand, but as of now it hasn't even taken that, and the GM hire of Trent Baalke was also a bad decision. Now again, in a normal situation I would side with Chaisson and say he has Josh Allen opposite of him, a player who has flashed at times, and maybe these 2 can get something going, but with where this franchise is headed, it simply does not look good for not only Chaisson, but for really everyone that has anything to do with this. The best thing the Jags could do right now, and that would directly affect Chaisson, is to admit the wrongdoing of hiring Urban Meyer, as he has not contributed really anything positive at all to this franchise to date, as he is 0-4 as the head coach, just went viral for all the wrong reasons, and the discussion surrounding this team is for, again, all of the wrong reasons. And Chaisson needed a coach that would be there for what's in his best interest in year 2, and a coach that would maximize the ability of both Josh Allen and himself, because if these guys did both maximize what they are capable of, then they would certainly be a formidable duo, and a duo that could really wreak havoc on the AFC South, and the AFC for that matter, and Urban is maximizing his paycheck right now, and that's about it. This franchise is a complete dumpster dumpster fire, and they should have had their first win against the Bengals last Thursday, and as we know, they did not, and it has been quite the week since that game. Chason has played in just 46% of the snaps this year for Jacksonville, and one thing I really don't understand in this franchise, among many others, is if they're down 15 or 20 to whoever, and I say that loosely because we knew they were going to lose a lot of games this year, but what harm does it do to put Kelanpharrell out there? Even if the opponent at that point is going to run the ball 85% of the time, just get him some snaps. I realize run defense was a knock on him in the draft process, but counterpoint, maybe don't draft a one-trick pony in the first round with a selection from the Jalen Ramsey trade. The Jags are 0-4, and it's not going to hurt the team any worse to have him out there for 75 or 80% of the snaps. And as we wrap up today's video, this is no exaggeration when I say this. Record-wise, the Jags cannot do worse than they have in the first month of the season, so let Kelanpharrell loose, and if he is a full-on draft bust, so be it. He would not be the first one for this franchise, and certainly won't be the last either. Now, with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, now is the time that I ask you to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world, and to make sure to follow on TikTok, as I post pretty daily on there, and there are some pretty good content. There's some NFL humor on there, and I generally do think you guys would enjoy that. So until next time, I hope you guys enjoyed, and have a great day.